Abigail.
Hi!
Thank you for coming on and chatting waffle with me.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Today we're going to be talking about belonging, but I feel like I need to give people a little lowdown about what it is you do. And there are so many strings to your bow, right? You once had a business around sort of like female training and how like females should be living, right?
Yep.
Now, you also do kinesiology. Have I said that right?
Kinesiology, that's why I'm a functional kinesiologist.
You also do like it's called The Gathering, isn't it? Which is where you do like sound baths and move, and you do like somatic movement.
Yeah.
What else do you
What
do?
is going on?
What is
For
it?
goodness
How
sake.
do we summarize you?
So the label of many that I carry at the moment to allow people to understand is that I'm a leader of embodied living. And let me explain what that means. It means that I jump into the fire, I try, I observe, I learn, I work out what works for me, and then I invite you to jump in with me. I don't go anywhere. I don't ask people to join me unless I've been there myself. And this is a little bit of a bugbear of mine at the moment because I'm now finding out that a lot of these great leaders haven't been there. This burns my wick slightly. Anyway, I am also what I classify as a curator of awe. I believe in magic. And what I mean by that is when you walk out of your door in the morning and you see the sunrise and it reminds you that there is something far greater than just you. That's magic. When you walk out into the woods or onto a beach and there's something that reminds you of who you are and where you came from, that's the magic. That is what I bring into spaces and places and evoke this sense of deep belonging in this physical body, in this time and place, which makes sense of everything.
And it's belonging that I know we're going to talk about today, but it's also belonging that so many of us have lost touch on, right? We don't belong to ourselves anymore. We don't belong to our careers. We don't belong to our homes. We've lost so much connection.
But have we? See, this is the parallel universe that I live in because you see, I see so many people actually living an in tune life, but they don't realize it because we've fallen into that. It's not enough. What I do is not enough. What I know is not enough. You know, Ido Portal did an amazing post recently, and if you don't know who he is, he's a phenomenal mover, an amazing mover. And he said, we have become entrenched in information, the need to know, but we've lost the initiation. There's no initiation. There's no meeting someone and learning from someone and being invited into that process. You know, your great grandmothers, the grandmothers, the mothers, the fathers, the lessons that were taught to us. We don't get them anymore from a human being. We get them from screens and technology.
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. And again, you know, is that a bad thing? No, it's not a bad thing, but it's how you use it. It's the same with most things, right? I have this conversation with my husband all the time about our children being on the screens and all of this wonderful research that's coming out now that says that this generation is now in a decline in cognitive ability. You know, where are we heading? What are we doing? Where are we going? Where is that sense of belonging?
So summarize belonging for me, for in like layman's terms.
Belonging is that deep knowing that where you are is exactly where you need to be, as exactly as you are.
And I don't think we're always striving, right? Me included. Like, I know I've touched on this and I've spoken to you about this. I think I've touched on it on my YouTube actually about how my work has significantly changed this year. I've never earned less. Well, I have when I was younger, as in a teenager, but like in terms of having the business. Um, and I also don't have a drive to do it anymore.
Mm.
Yet that trust to know that I'm right where I'm meant to be is
Mm.
really, really, really hard. And it's the same when you look at like, people that are into fitness, or like maybe people, a lot of the people that follow me may have lost their periods and have gone through disordered eating and things. To trust that they're meant to go on this path and they're meant to have lived this to then be able to continue in the future. Like that's really hard to tap into and believe in that moment, isn't it?
What I see so often within that experience is the blame that we put on ourselves. So when we lose our periods, God, it's my fault. What's happening? What have I done wrong? But I always say you got to look at your environment. You got to look at the the soil from which you are growing from. Yeah. So your environment, the people, the places, the spaces, the work. If that doesn't support you individually, something's gonna go amiss. Something's not gonna connect. And for women, we see this, this I mean, we are at a point where female health related symptoms are at the highest they've ever been. And one of my great mentors, Jane Hardwick Collins, says that comes from that disconnection from that deep feminine wisdom. And this is not woo, like this is not a woo-woo conversation, like feminine, masculine. It's a way of identifying how energy works. And we are energy. We are electrical impulses that are communicating constantly. And when our environment, or when we are not in an environment that supports that electrical currency, that communication starts to break down. So
Yeah, I've said, oh, I love talking about the fact you can't grow a flower in shitty soil. If you've got shitty soil, if you've got shit foundations, something's going to have to give. And fundamentally as well, I was building that business on very rocky foundations.
but I feel a lot of people do because they've forgotten the value. They've
And
forgotten
the
the
same when
value.
it's the same with like periods as well though, right? You go on a fitness journey and you're on shitty foundations. Shitty foundations can be the reason why you started, or like lack of education, or the goals that you really want. Maybe that's you're striving for an 8-pack, but fundamentally when like unless you've got the type of genes where a female have, it's very rare for a female to carry an 8-pack naturally. Then it's the same with like if you started the gym because you're trying to be good enough for someone else, or if you go into it with lack of education, they're shit foundations, aren't they?
Yes, and let me share a little story about this for me. In about 2016, like life decided that I needed to learn a lot of lessons. So in about 4 months, like my husband's nan passed away. My cousin died of a brain hemorrhage. I had a miscarriage at a funeral. My mum got skin cancer, and like you're doing this, but that weren't working and it was starting to break down between me and my husband. So I went off to Miami and I trained in MMA, and it was out there, you know, the responsibilities taken down. We was moving 8 to 10 hours a day, but it was more than that. There was great food. There was opportunities to talk about feelings and beliefs. And during the course of that month, my bleed became regular. It wasn't heavy. It wasn't painful. I wasn't like emotionally overwhelmed. And so it got me thinking like, wow, putting two together, obviously all of that has really helped, isn't it? So I came back, went down the rabbit hole where I did some training with Red School. I joined the cohort of Dr. Stacey Sims. I trained with a guy called Phil Richards that has done a lot in this area as well. And it blew my mind about what I didn't know about my own body. And in that learning process, I understood, or I began to understand how to belong in my body, that my emotions are a deep communication, not only from my own lived experience, but from like, your body dates back hundreds of thousands of years. Like it is an evolution. It's an evolution in process. We are continuing to process, but there is a deep whisper inside of you that knows how to function. That the bleed, the menstrual cycle is more than just bleeding. It's more than just fertility. It is a whole ecosystem of growth and development that allows us to communicate with life on a incredibly profound level. And for me, tapping into that intelligence allows me to change every month, like to evolve ever so slightly every month. And that's success now for me. That is what success is, the ability to adapt and change and move and evolve. And it's taken me closer to perimenopause, which I'm probably in, and towards menopause, which I do not fear. I see menopause as the thickest opportunity to own my life and to realize that this is completion. And now I'm going to live it. You know, I'm going to step into a skin, a softer skin, but a wiser skin, and live a life that is so full. And for me, that is belonging. Because back then, I didn't have that. I was chasing. I've got to be here and I've got to be there. And I've got a lovely young son here, but I've got to be here and I've got to be there. And, you know, calm down, Abigail, but I've got to be here and I've got to be there. How can you belong when you're constantly doing that? And how can you ever receive the goals that you're striving for if you keep pushing past them?
Which is key, right? Like I put out a post on my Instagram back in January actually that was saying, here's something I learned, and it was the more I slow down, the more I get what I want.
Mm.
How do people, if they don't know how to tap into this, like what did that journey look like for you? Because it's not just okay that people are going to watch this video and then suddenly they're going to feel like they're belonging. Sometimes like suddenly they open their door and they're like so connected. What did that journey look like for you, and also what could that journey look like for someone else? You know, even you just mentioning that bit there about rushing, and you've got a son at home. I was like, fucking hell, she's talking about me.
And this is the thing, right? This is the beautiful thing about talking and speaking. I'm only talking to you if I'm talking to you. You know, there is no blame or judgment here. But if you catch hold of this conversation and it's like, what? There's something there, isn't there? There's
Yeah, yeah.
something there that is calling you. But for those people, gosh, for me, I mean, it's been a long process, darling. I left the corporate world a year after I got married.
What were you doing in corporate before?
So I worked for a big property company in London, and I was a PA for this property company. But I'd met my husband, my then husband, and my soul was just crumbling. You know, I'm not meant to be sitting at a desk. It just kills my soul,
That's
kills my creativity.
exactly what happened to me. I love ProDirect with all my heart, love everyone that works there. But for me to have to do 9 to 5 in an office destroyed me.
Yeah,
Put
and you
me in
know,
the bin.
and, and with that, what ended up, you just used to go out and have a drink after work to numb
Really,
it.
see, I was the
And that-
opposite.
oh,
Got I got more obsessed with my food and my steps
did you?
and my training, yeah.
So that when I was working for this property company, it was the high life. We were wild. But then when I met my now husband, and I started to get into my running towards the end of my life there. I started to get into my running, started like, oh my God, I'm starting to feel good. I don't want to keep going out all the time. I don't want to keep doing this. Don't want to keep doing that. And then I eventually set up on my own and I got into health and wellness. But it it's been a gradual process. But the one thing that I can say that stands out is that what started out as just me, this is all about me, became about me and my partner, and trusting him to provide for me and my son as I work this out. That's a big, yeah, yeah.
Ah!
And that
Like, I
came
can trust
from,
someone else.
And that came from the work within the menstrual cycle. So understanding like this, you start from that well, actually I started from the real deep emotional side of things with that Red Skull, and it's beautiful. You know, we talk about the seasons being within the cycle and what that landscape looks like. And oh my days, you know, I realized on day 21 where all of my addictions were, where all of that self-sabotaging came in. And it was a real process of unwinding all of that. And it made me see how I needed to I needed to lean in on my husband. Otherwise, what was the point in the relationship? What's the point in the partnership? Like to trust that he will hold me, to trust that he will support me, to trust that he's there because he loves me, not because I do things for him, because he loves me.
So you mentioned about understanding your cycle.
Mm.
How Tell us about the cycle.
So
And
you
what can we expect? So like someone watching this, if they're like, okay, how do I understand myself around my cycle? Like how can that help me belong a little bit more by understanding my cycle? Because I'm fully with you in that when I tune into my cycle, I won't lie, I'm kind of scared at the moment because I'm currently going to be due on for my wedding, which scares me a little bit. But I guess like yeah, like someone watching this, how do they how can their cycle help them feel more themselves?
so just to say about you being on your wedding, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is like the most wonderful. What's the opposite word to omen? I keep forgetting, not omen. What's the opposite word? It's like an initiation. Like this is a rebirth of you on your wedding day
Yeah.
and the start of a new chapter and relationship. How does
I
that
don't mind
feel?
bleeding. Yeah, Abby, I don't mind bleeding on my wedding,
Yeah.
but I don't want to be due on.
No, no, fair point. Okay, fair enough. So come and hurry up.
Yeah. Yeah. But I yeah, flow all you like in my white dress. Don't even care. Don't even care if I leak because I'll be feeling good because I'll
Yes, I
be
love it.
bleeding. But it's the build up that worries me.
Fair point, my darling. And then coming back to how your cycle can help you belong in your body. Well, as women, our emotional acuity and intelligence is profound. We are born with emotional intelligence where young boys aren't. This actually develops later on. And so we all know the feels, right? Those days when, wow, gosh, I am alive. Feels like a series from Cheers, you know, where everybody knows your name and you're walking down the street. And then, oh my goodness, the next day feels like the world is about to end. What happened? This is your cycle. This, go on, what was you going to say?
I've noticed as well that so this month particularly, I ovulated few days. So like my ovulation window was the end, like middle of last week to over the weekend, and it was Tom's stag do this weekend. I've never fancied him more. He'd send me photos of he'd send me photos of him in fancy dress, and I'd be like, mate, you look fit. He's dressed up as a Milky Bar kid. Milky Bar kid. He was dressed up like it, and I was like, fuck, I really fancy you. And this is also why I'm scared about the build up to the wedding, because let me tell you, I don't think that on the build up to my period. And that doesn't bode well for my actual wedding day. I'm worried I'm going to be looking at him thinking,
Milky
you're a
Bucket.
knob. Yeah.
but but coming back to helping you, if your emotions destabilize you, there is most probably a pattern to them. And when you can find that pattern, you can start putting what they call the protocols, the tools, the tips, the support around them so they don't sabotage you too much. And what you start to
I,
see in your What I was just about to say, what you start to see in your cycle is that you overspend in places emotionally, physically, all of the feels, yeah, where perhaps if you just held back slightly, you wouldn't feel so overwhelmed at certain points. And by charting your cycle, just charting, how long is your cycle? Okay, so it's 30 days. All right. So now we know it's 30 days. So then on every 25th on every 25th day, I feel like the walls are gonna cave in. All right, I wonder why that is. And we start to look at how you are living around the rest of your cycle because it's a shadow, right? Where you feel the ills isn't necessarily where the problem is. It's just it's like the body, right? When you have a pain in your shoulder, it, it's not necessarily where the problem is. It could be coming from your hip, your knee. It is just traveling back and finding where that's coming from. And a lot of the time in that PMS window, we see that the nourishment in the bleed needs attention. Instead of hitting the gym the first day of your bleed and then doing a 10K run on the second day of your bleed, and then you've got a massive work thing going on the third day of your bleed. You can see how this is pulling energy. It is pulling at those stress responses. And by the time you get to the end of your cycle where you need to rest, and you're probably not, shall we say, there's nothing there. There's nothing in a tank.
Mm-mm.
So what ultimately your bleed gives you is greater choice. It gives you more control.
It's hard, okay? Just playing devil's advocate, especially I know a lot of people that will follow me, and I'm probably talking to younger Abigail too, and is when you feel good, you fucking go for it.
Mhm.
Like you don't, and I wrote down about that pullback thing, and I think that's what a lot of us need to learn, me included, is that when you go for it, sorry, when you're feeling good, so maybe that's your follicular phase and leading up to like ovulation, you're feeling good, is like, yeah, go for it, but keep some in the tank because that's still going to affect you sort of like next week, isn't it? Whereas, unfortunately for me, if I'm feeling good, I don't just go, I go. And I've started like 10 new projects. And then I ovulate, and then I'm like, oh, why do I feel so fucked? And then like the thoughts of like laziness come in, and then like do you know what I mean? You start like looking at yourself in the mirror and being like, oh, and then you look at your skin and it's all dry or whatever, and like I know all of these things. So like also this is something that I know so many people that watch this will relate to. Probably why they're watching this as well is they're sucker for knowledge. They want to absorb it all. They want to know everything. So like they might know that, you should maybe slow down before your period and things like. It's one thing knowing it, but how the fuck do we do it?
Well, the big question is, what are you trying to prove with all this knowledge, and what you going to do with it? And this is why, when I first like fell into the female health side of things, oh my god, yeah, of course you're hungry for it. You want to know it. Now I realise I don't think women need to know so much about estrogen, progesterone, before you bite my head off, because what are you doing with it?
No,
Just the
I'm
question,
actually with you.
what are you doing with it? Because like you just said, Chloe,
Yeah.
these big words. You see, I've got high estrogen. Okay, great. What are you doing with it? Oh, nothing.
It's so
So
true. And also it's so different for everyone, isn't it? So it's like, oh, high estrogen, this. And it's like, yeah, that's fine. But high estrogen for you versus high estrogen for her is completely different. So there's always going to be like that textbook shit as well, isn't there?
yeah,
I honestly believe that a lot of people seek out knowledge and continue to seek out knowledge because they're trying to prove themselves right. So, like, whether they don't want to change, they're trying to avoid change. So they keep listening to something to be like, oh, yeah, I do that. Okay, fine, I'll stick to that. So, whether that was like, and I speak from experience of like coaching loads of girls and going through like period recovery myself, I seeked out so much knowledge because it felt like I was not only getting the dopamine hit of being like, okay, cool, I've learned something. I feel like I'm doing something towards getting me
yeah,
to where I get to. It's like now I feel like the new thing is, on Instagram, they've got the comment a word and I'll send you the link. A lot of the time that's like guides and courses that you can do, and I think there's such a dopamine hit that people get from just typing that in, because it's a bit like I heard that when you sign people that sign up to the gym, and then never actually go. It's because they've got that dopamine hit of signing up to the gym in the first place. They feel like they've done something, but
Mm.
really the power comes from the action, doesn't it?
Mm.
How do we implement the action when maybe voices are so loud that maybe we are running from something? Maybe we are like scared of change, I guess.
This is where surrounding yourself with the right people counts. There is no quick fix to this, and you've got to go in deep. I had a mate message me recently, and she's asking about perimenopause. But I don't have the time to go deep like you. I said, well, you better make time. You got to make time.
Yeah.
You know, unless you want to be medicated, and again, there is no judgment there if it is authentically needed. And all I hear is how I need HRT because I'm stressed. I get it. But what about if we look at the lifestyle first and make some very, very minor tweaks, mainly around food and nourishment? Because a lot of the time we are caught in a very outdated approach to food. I grew up in the Atkins diet era, and us gals are scarred about carbs. You know, putting a carb in your mouth is a big thing, you know?
100%. I still, even after all the work I've done with my relationship, if I'm stressed, I wouldn't say my stepmom loves a good tiger loaf. If she might go and grab a slice of toast. Even if I'm stressed, I'd grab a protein bar, grab a chicken breast over a slice of toast.
Uh, yeah,
It feels like it's so in me that even though and again, it comes back to that knowledge thing, right? Of I know we need carbohydrates. I know we need, yeah, it's like there's like this past like default that's just like protein bar.
yeah. And I've actually had some leaders advise me about how to train, how to eat, and I lost my bleed because of it. So I'm like, come back to your own wisdom. And this is something that I wanted to point out is that even in my 8 years of being within this, research has changed, ideas have changed, hormone fluctuations have changed. So what we know about estrogen and progesterone and all these other hormones right now will change, but the way you feel doesn't. So this is where I keep coming back to, how do you feel? What are you feeling? How are you feeling them feelings? What do you know right now?
How do we know what we know?
Because when you go deep and you take the time to listen, you know. Let me tell you, you know. I have so many women say, I know about my cycle, I just don't have the time to put it into practice. Don't have the time, or are we getting far too distracted by other things to make time? And again, I'm
100,
only talking to you if I'm talking to you. There's no judgment here.
100%. It's the
True.
same with that period recovery thing, right? Like, you know what you need to do to get your period back. You know what you need to do to regulate your hormones, never balance them because they'll never be balanced, but regulate them. We know what we need. Well, I know what I need to do to help my underactive thyroid. We all know what we need to do,
Mhm.
but it's doing it. And I think distracted is 100% just the best word for it, because even if someone says, I don't have the time, it, it's still a distraction, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because and then an example of myself, I could easily meditate in the mornings. Fuck me, my son gets up early enough. I have time. If he gets up at 5:30 in the morning and we go downstairs and he's playing with his cars, I could meditate then. I'm still
Mhm.
sat with him. He's still safe. I could do some form of meditation or mindfulness, but I think I can't because I've got Frankie.
Mm.
You know, when we're always waiting for those perfect moments, aren't we? We're like, I'll do that then. And I do think like there's so much sense in like, you know, people will love listening to this conversation being like, yeah, I'm going to tune in with myself. Okay, I'm going to start taking a moment to listen to myself. I'm going to notice my patterns of my cycle. I'm going to notice the world around me. Or they've just got the dopamine hit by saying that they're going to do that.
Yeah.
Yet it's doing it and it's embodying that and it's being that. What are your thoughts? You touched on actually about the importance of having the people around you.
Um,
I totally agree with this, but what are your thoughts on like you have people around you for different reasons? So, for example, none of my friends are millionaires. That doesn't mean I don't want to be a millionaire. Does that mean I'm never going to be a millionaire because I don't have millionaire friends? Or does that mean that maybe I just won't look to my friends for millionaire advice? Do you know what I mean?
how can I put this? Okay, so it's being around those people that don't manipulate you to stay where they are. If you want to be a millionaire and your friend isn't, they will have your back.
Oh my God, I love it. Yeah, my friends even text me content ideas. They're like, hey, have you seen this trend? I think you should do this. That's when you know you've got good friends.
That's it. Do you know, it's funny you say that. This morning I woke up and I got a message from one of my oldest pals, and she said, just having a moment on a run. She went, and I was thinking of you. She went, I just want to say how proud I am of you. She went, you left the corporate world. She went, you've made such a success of this, and I love you so much. Well done, you. And it made me cry.
Yeah.
It's those people in your lives. And, we haven't seen each other for a while, but time has no difference there. Like we could meet up and it'd be exactly the same.
Yeah, I've got friends like that too.
I'm getting all the tingles as well. Those are the
Yeah.
people. They're the people that you need. And this is where I want to, not chat GPT. Because it will always agree with you.
100%.
What
Yeah.
you type in, it will always agree with you. I created the gathering from a deep sense of wanting to be connected to other people, to offer a space where we are curious with our bodies, curious with our breath, curious with our minds, curious with our words, where we can get creative, and come together. That makes me zing. That's really important to me. What is important to you? And again, I come back to the values. I feel we've, as a culture in this country, I question our values. And my son says to me about, I want loads of money. Why? What are you gonna do with it? I just want loads of money. Okay, but why? You know, if you're
He
seeking
doesn't though, does
happiness,
he? It's not it's not the money, is it? It
no.
fundamentally he wants freedom.
Yeah. He wants
And
joy.
yeah, I am obsessed with values. So obsessed with these values. And actually, I think we've maybe chatted our way to find out how people can help belong. If people understand their true values, that will help them feel that like sense of belonging, won't it? Because every decision they can make will be based around the values that they know they have.
And this is what you find, and this is not just the women, because men have their own cycle, right? They're on that circadian rhythm of 24 hours. There is a rhythm. We've all got a rhythm. We've all got a pattern, and those
Yeah.
patterns fit and connect so beautifully into each other. As a woman, I found value in like from the feelings that I experienced, and they change throughout your cycle. And understanding the different needs at the different points led to that identification of the value behind it. What do I value? In my follicular phase, it is creativity. I love movement is my thing, but I also love art. Art. Oh, I'm no pro, but it is in the process, it is in the doing of something that so much comes. In my luteal phase, I now crave the deep rest and reflection. To write poetry for me is just the most beautiful thing, and to journal. What is it that I value, and that is then cultivated within the walls of your home and with your family, and that then starts to echo out into the work that you do. And I feel like you've just said it bestows that sense of belonging because you understand the value that allows you to function.
Yeah, I actually wrote like short free guide on how I worked out my values. So if you're actually watching this, look down in the show notes because I'll put it there. I just had this thought around values. I remember learning about values when I was getting on that journey to get my period back. And I spent ages trying to deep into it and understand, okay, what like certain fears or like certain goals. And what I realized is like why I strive uh for and I wanted to have such a monetal successful business was because I just craved freedom and stability and security. And it was like, okay, once I understood that, then I didn't necessarily need to continue to chase money. I could look for security, stability, and freedom in other areas too. And I think those those values come from you understanding your values come from deep, sometimes dark moments as
Mm.
well as those highs. So like look at what are the things that bring you so much joy and what is it about those things that give you so much joy. I look back and also like look back at when you were a kid, what were the things you did for fun, like
Mm.
that's a deep value. So for me, I only ever I never played with toys. I only ever played schools or I set up businesses and pretended to run businesses. So like I'd look out in my mum's garden, I'd be like, oh, I'll set up a garden centre today. And I would be a garden centre owner, or I would own a horse riding stables, or I was a teacher. I know then that doing these kinds of conversations, teaching people, being like,
Yeah.
being a leader in that sense is going to be a value of mine because I did it as a kid for free anyway. So it's only going to bring me joy if I'm then doing it as a bit of a career. And I think we often are so, honestly, I mean, this conversation alone has helped me so much in understanding the key in coming back to your values. It's brilliant if you already know your values, right? And I guess values can change over time, but if you have no idea what your values even are, is understanding those will really help you
Mm.
become so much more connected to yourself.
Absolutely. And that's all we ever truly want, right? Is to feel at home in our bodies, which is something that we never get the permission for. If you think about it, we never get the permission to feel at home in our bodies. There's so much comparison that is thrown on us from such an early age. But it's something that you claim when you reach midlife. You know, this has been such a turning point for me. I've never felt like I have belonged so deeply before and so at ease and with more time. I mean, that's not easy. That hasn't been easy. I've had to get to this place, and I've had to sacrifice isn't the right word because I've let go of stuff that wasn't necessary. So that's really not a sacrifice. But you go through the mill, don't you, when you're trying to process all this stuff.
Yeah.
But it was something that I value deeply, and I continue to value. I value myself. I value myself. I value this body, this 44-year-old body that has done so much. And what I am doing is I'm educating my children to believe in the same.
How do you do that?
Every action that I do, everything that I do, they are watching me, watching, watching, watching. Simple acts that I do. And for me, what is so important is that my children have access to creativity. So my daughter is a phenomenal artist, like painting and drawing and writing. So she has access to that. And I will encourage, do you want to do painting? Should we do some drawing? Should we go out into the woods and we'll go and do some singing? And she'll run around and sing, really loudly. And like me, my little inner child is going, "Oh my God, what about our neighbours?" But I'm saying, "It's okay, let her go, let her go." All of that. But I say about me, my children have taught me so much. They have taught me so much in terms of what I was carrying on from my generational line, in terms of nervous system responses. I don't want my children to see me as shouting all the time and being angry. I don't want that. And they've really enabled me to calm that down and to come from a really great place of confident communication. And so my children now will talk to me and they're so good. How are you feeling? Well, I'm feeling like this because this happened. And I'm like, oh, yes. That
Yeah.
that means everything to me because I was born in a generation, and this is no pop at anyone, but we didn't have emotional conversations. Just went around, weren't they? Everyone was just working really, really hard to get as much money as they could because they believed that that was what was going to make them happy. But was it?
I know. Don't you think we're still in a little bit of that though, aren't we? Of that whole like striving. And, I had a great moment, me and Frankie painting a fence.
Mm.
And I was like, isn't that wild that like we're just painting a fence?
Yeah,
But
it's a
we're not
simple
just
thing.
painting a fence, are we? It's so much more than that. And I think we put so much power on the big things and the mega things. But like and this is speaking from experience, you miss all those big things if going back to the foundations. If your foundations are shit, you're missing the big things anyway, because you're not even there. If you're not fueling yourself, if you don't understand yourself, if like you were saying, if you're on the lead up to your period, but you've treated your body like shit, then whatever you're experiencing, you're not going to experience it fully because you haven't embodied yourself.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. And coming back to the children aspect, I we wonder why a lot of our children are dysregulated, and it's because they're watching us rush, up, out, done, back, dinner, bed, dinner, but like it is just a tick box, isn't it? And I see this, and I saw it in the way that I was functioning with my children, and when it came to my daughter, she needed that nourishment. And so mornings for her are so slow. If we're gonna be late, we're gonna be late. I'm not putting that pressure on you. She's not gonna do it. And there has been days, for my son as well, when they've they've been feeling some really deep feels. And I've always said to them, "Look, if you feel that deeply and it's relevant, we don't go into school, we'll stay at home." And we've had a couple of days like that where I want them to know that this is a safe space, that they can reset at home and then go back in the next day. I
Yeah.
think this is
Instead
so
of just
important.
being like, come on, silly. You're
Ignore
being
it, ignore
silly.
it,
Let's
ignore it,
go.
ignore it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're being silly. Let's go. Yeah.
yeah. But
That's what,
I appreciate that that again, that's not easy. If you're working for someone else and you've got to get and this is where we need to look at society, right? And the way that we function, because we are not functioning from a place that supports family units, a family dynamic. It's breaking down so much, isn't it?
happy
Well,
we're even punished if we earn more money though. This is like a bit of a thing that I've realized is they want to keep you playing small, but they want to keep you stressed.
yeah.
So like if you earn over £100,000, you lose your free childcare, but that doesn't mean you're any better off
Mm.
than someone that earns 85,000. So it's better for someone to earn £85,000 than it is for someone to earn £100,000, because then they get their free childcare, but then they're still going to be mega stressed. And then there's likelihood that as a female, you're never going to be able to go for that promotion anyway, because you can't because of the childcare situation. So like, they're told, oh, keep striving, keep striving. Women can do everything. Women can do everything. Yeah, the world's not set up for that, and our bodies aren't set up for that. And let me tell you, it's taken me a little while to realize that.
But this is where we then stand up and go, well, I don't fucking want everything. I don't want
Yeah.
everything. Thank you. I want the things that I value. I want the things that make me happy. What do you want from life? Because, you know, we only get one. And one thing that I am determined to have when I return to the soil and the stardust from which I came, is that I will have no regrets and my children will carry the fondest of memories of our time together. That is what I value most.
Ah,
So
it makes
what
me
is
so
it?
emotional.
What is it you value? And it is very easy to blame society. It has a lot of handles on us, right? But you do have a choice. You have choices. You really do. And this is when we have to look at the relationships that we hold. You know, as a woman, a female, a person that births children, what dynamic do you want to play to nurture and nourish these relationships? And do you know, I never forget, I was sitting down in the gym with this woman once and we was partnering up on the rower and we got into talking about childcare and she was talking about being stressed and rushing here, there and everywhere and missing out. And I said, so what about your partner? And we got into the conversation and I was talking to her and she said, I've just realised, like, he has said to me that he's happy for me to take less days at work and he's happy to support us. But I just feel so bad. I said, but he's asking you. He's asking you to look after your child. He's happy to support you. What the messaging into a woman and giving thanks to Emily Pankhurst and all those women that have have fought to get us where we are today. There is so much gratitude there. But on the flip side of that, I feel like we have completely forgotten the values behind certain aspects of our being. And for me, being a mum, I appreciate now. I really want to be a mum. I want to be a really great mum, and that requires time. And we had a chat, didn't we, the other day, where I said to you, you know, I've had the inclination to make biscuits for my children. If my children want to eat something, I don't want them to eat prepackaged stuff. Because when I turn a label over and I see all this shit on there that
Mm.
causes cancer and terrible things, I now get in that kitchen and I make it and I try and make it, and that takes time. When I was rushing around and doing all this jazz, driving myself mad, I didn't even want to make dinner. It became a bloody chore. So, do you know? But you do, don't you? It's like one more chore. Like having
Yeah.
sex. That's another fucking chore. I ain't got time for that either.
Yeah,
Roll over
literally,
and go to
don't touch
sleep.
me. Yeah.
You know? My nervous system now is like, oh, yes, I belong. I'm in a great place. I trust. I'm going to make some biscuits for my children. And I know that that's going to nourish them. And I feel so good about that. And they see that I'm making that for them. They know that I'm putting the time in for them. They understand that time is appreciation, that time is a value, that time is a currency. Whew. And it is reciprocated. You know, me and my little boy was on a surfboard a couple of years ago, and I'll never ever forget this. I'm like, come on, Raf, come on, come and do the surfing. And we was out there surfing. I'm like, oh, Raf, isn't this great? And he turned around and looked at me, and he was only 8. He went, Mum, I don't care about the surfing. I care about you.
Oh, that makes me well up.
That meant everything. That meant everything. And you don't get that back. I
No,
want
and
to,
it reminds me of I look at my mum, so she's done, I think I've told you, she's done like a transformation the past year. And God, that's really got me right in the feels. She's done like a full transformation this past year on like really working on herself and her hormones, and she's worked with a nutritionist, she's got loads of blood tests done. She's completely transformed. So she's lost a shit ton of weight,
oh, good
but
for Mum.
her whole soul has changed. Her whole
Mm.
spirit has changed. And as a daughter, it's helped our relationship, like it's helped us so much. But I look at, and like as a daughter, you realize like you only ever want to see your parents happy, and you think as a kid that it's the parents' responsibility. And it's only when you realize like that I've never been prouder of my mum. And it's when you're like, oh yeah, it does actually work two ways.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I look at Frankie and just think, I've got to look after you. I've got to make you happy. I've got to make sure you're safe. But like, forgetting that actually, like, he feels exactly the same way towards me.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. So again, you know, what are the stories that you're telling? And whether you've got children or not, like the relationships that you hold, the relationships that you tend to and care for, that you mother, they're so important. And some of those stories can be an echo, can't they? From your
Yeah.
ancestral line and history. And some of them stories don't need to be told anymore. And this
Yeah.
is where going into that deep physiology, you know, whether you look at it from that emotional standpoint or whether you look at it from a more scientific perspective, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, it's all the same. We're looking for the same thing. Yeah, we're looking for understanding, we're looking for belonging, we're looking for connection. That is ultimately it, just
Yeah.
different words.
Yeah. I love it. Abby, thank you so much.
Lovely.
This has opened a can of worms, I think. I think this is going to lead to many more conversations. I know we're working on something, well, my limited amount of input so far, but we are working on something.
It's coming, baby.
It's coming. I'll get married and then I'll marry you in tandem project. Um,
Can't wait.
but thank you so much. This is going to be so cool. I'm really interested to hear people's thoughts on this. I feel like we started off, we just went on so many different, down so many different routes, and I'd love to hear people's thoughts on, yeah, like their opinions on all of this, like where they're at with all of this. So, yeah, thank you so much for joining us. I will leave all of your Instagram and all of your website and everything all down in the show notes.
Thanks.
If people want to touch you, get in touch with you a little bit more. But
You can
yeah.
touch me.
Give you a little hug. But yeah, thank you so much, and I'll speak to you soon.